I think you should let her know how beautiful that was, don't you? It's just lovely. We're perfectly fine with applause here, okay? And I know that a lot of people go to funerals, services, and they don't have that good a time. Say, what? This is a celebration. It really is, of the most phenomenal lady. 97. Her life is what we're celebrating. Yeah, go ahead. We're celebrating her life. And it is very sad for everybody, especially your family. But she lived an incredible life. From June 2nd, 1924 to November 11th, 2021, Helen was born in Detroit, Michigan, to Carl and Leona Hendricks on June 2nd, 1924, and went to be with the Lord on November 11th, 2021 in Torrance, California, at age 97. She was a daughter, sister, wife, aunt, mother of 4, and watch this, grandmother of 10, great-grandmother of 19, and great-great-grandmother of 10. A lot of people are going to miss this lady. A lot of people. She's a friend to many and the matriarch of her large extended family. Although she was small in stature, standing only 4 feet 10 inches tall, she was larger than life. How many agree with that? Yep, she was. With inexhaustible zest for life, Helen was a woman of true grit and had a fierce love for her family through thick and thin. She always made time for those she cared for. She showed up for us all with that special glit in her eye and always had a way of making one feel important. She did that for me too. Helen was very proud of her almost 50-year career in the aerospace industry, joining Douglas Aircraft in 1951 in Santa Monica, California. Starting as a machinist, she eventually grew her credentials to be a highly valuable contributor to the company, which ultimately became Boeing, where she retired, known to have never been late or missing a day. She loved her work and routinely spoke sadly of her friends and coworkers she outlived. You know, you come to this kind of a point and you look back on 97 years. And on behalf of Helen and her family, I want to thank all of you for coming to this celebration. And understand that, I mean, we don't know. Helen may even be here right now. So mind your P's and Q's, right? We don't know what kind of access they have. And I think that the first thing, though, that comes to my mind every time I would think of Helen is this picture. I want to show you a picture of what I think of when I think of Helen. Is that it? I got it, didn't I? She was actually a riveter. I don't know if you know the history of Rosie the Riveter, but that idea, and she told me that when she would be in the fuselages and she'd rivet in the fuselage, I said, well, what was that like? She said, it was kind of scary. I always worried they'd close me in there. But she had that job because she could fit and crawl around in there. Isn't that amazing? And see, I look forward to seeing her again. Anybody else? Okay, a lot of you are ready to do that. Okay, good. Not today, right? But we will see her again. And it's not just wishful thinking. It's how it is. And I've gotten to a point, especially these last couple of years, where I just want people to know that there is life after death. This world is not all that there is. But not everybody believes that. I don't blame them, because people typically are down on what they're not up on. And so they don't understand the things of this world are just so temporary. We understand that part, but we don't understand that there's something else. And it's not new. It's not just our culture. It's not just some people that might be here today. It's ancient, actually, because in the town of Thessalonica, during the time that Jesus was walking the earth, there was an inscription at this town of Thessalonica, and it said, "After death, no reviving. After the grave, no meeting again." Now, I don't know about you, but that's hopeless. I don't like even thinking about it, that I'd never see Helen again. And you see, a typical gravestone in that city read like this: "I was not, I became, I am not, I care not." That was where they were at. But there was a man, Paul, who went to that city. And he wanted people, especially those who didn't know who Christ was, he wanted people to understand that there was life after death. Now, Helen had that assurance. You all know that, right? Yeah, she had that assurance. And she really wants you to have it too. So if you're here today and you don't know about your life after death, maybe you should listen closely to what St. Paul had to say. When he was writing to the people of Thessalonica, he said this: "Brothers and sisters, we do not want you to be uninformed. We want you to know. We want you to understand. We want you to have an understanding about those who die." This is Paul speaking, okay? "That you do not grieve like the rest of mankind." Dave, rest of your family, you don't grieve like people who have no hope. See, because this is Helen, see you later, not goodbye. And that's what he's trying to get across this. For we believe that Jesus died and rose again, so we believe that God will bring with Jesus those who have died in him. And so we will be with God forever. Therefore, it says, Paul says, encourage one another with these words. So his purpose in all of dealing with that was to let people know that, yes, we're sad. Obviously, we're going to miss Helen. And it's been really difficult. I haven't seen her much at all the last 2 years. I was scared to death to go visit her because I didn't want to give her anything, you know? And so it was really, really a difficult couple of years. And I know that we will get to sit down again. And I will get to hear more of those stories. My daughter actually called her because she was writing a play about Rosie the Riveter and talked to her about what she had done. And she had a glorious time with my daughter. She's just a special lady. And so Paul wants us to be in an understanding that there's life after death and that this is see you later. Or you can just embrace after death, no reviving, after the grave, no meeting again. That's really the only alternative. Rana, would you come up and share an incredible song written by a man who was a slave trader? A lot of people don't know that. And when you sit here and listen to this song, he came to Christ and it changed his life. So as you listen to the song, have in mind that God can change anybody's life.
Amazing grace, how sweet how sweet the sound that saved a soul like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fear relieved. How precious did that grace appear, the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. 'Twas grace that brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've no less days to sing God's praise, than when we first begun.
Be interested in saying something, but raise your hand real quick. 1, 2, 3. A few of you? Okay, very good. Dave's going to start in just a minute after I read a psalm. But if you do want to say something, when he comes up here to say something, or you want to stand there, right there? When he comes up here to say something, if you would come up and sit down here, there's some seats we left open down in front. So that it'll help us save a little time for you just to get right up one after another, because I would imagine there's a few people who want to say something. Okay? Psalms 23 says, "The Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. He guides me along the right paths for his name's sake. And even though I walk through the darkest valley of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me." Now, that particular passage of Scripture isn't exactly the way it's written. It says, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death." Significant, because when you're a believer, death is different. It's just a shadow of what it is for someone else. Because when you die without Christ, you're separated from God, and that's darkness. That's darkness. Dave, would you please share with us some things about Mom, grandma, great-grandma.
How am I doing so far? Yes. What it says is, yea, though I walk through the valley of shadow of death. It says, yea, we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, doesn't it? We walk through the valley. And that's what we're doing today, aren't we? Walking through the valley. Thanks, everybody, for coming. I was in good shape till she came up here. My mom requested that we do Amazing Grace. And, we've done Amazing Grace. I meant to go out this morning and pick a rose out of my garden and bring it, and I forgot to do it. I get here, there's all the flowers around, all the beautiful flowers that people have sent. All the flowers that surround my mom right here in this little jar. And, I'm sure some of you have gardens also, and any of us that have a garden, we can go out in the garden anytime we want and pick a flower, can't we? My son goes out and picks fruits, and you don't tell him what he does back there. He's a farmer. But if we can all go, because it's our garden, we can go. And God has his garden too, full of many varieties. Look around, the varieties in God's garden. And God went out November 11th and picked in the fullness of the bloom. Picked my mom to be part of the centerpiece of the Lord's table. And what did she say when she got there? That's what she said. She said, "Hi, hon." So everybody was there. Anybody in this room that she's ever talked to, if you call her on the phone, she says, "Hi, hon." If you go to her house, she says, "Hi, hon." It doesn't matter where you go. "Hi, hon." How many of you have heard that? "Hi, hon." Yeah. So I have that on this little caricature over here that was made for her at work when she left work. So it says, "Hi, hon." And what I'd like for everybody in here to do is to turn to the people around you and say, "Hi, hon," for my mom. Yeah, you did her proud. Last time I was got her in the hospital, she was telling the doctors that she was 97 and a half, and I told the doctor she was a little liar. And the doctors looked at me kind of strange. They said, "Well, she won't be 97 and a half till December." So she was 97 and 5 months, so it's close enough for her. 97 and a half. Why is it the little kids always brag on get that half a year in there? And old folks want to get the half a year too, you know? That's, you know, what it is, you know? I'm okay the way I am, but I always want to present that I'm more, you know? And it's just a thing of life. I failed my mom. I promised her that I would get her out of that hospital and she could die at home. It's been a thing for the last few years. I thought she was going to come with Lily and I for a while, and he was so close. But she just really wanted to be in her own home, around her own stuff. And, I promised her that I would get her there. And another one of my failures I could add on to the list. I have a list, you know. I talked to the doctors, and we're getting her out of there. I was at my mom's house waiting on hospice to bring a hospital bed and the oxygen, and the hospice people had the ambulance set up at the hospital to bring her home. And the doctor called, and she had a blip in her heart, and she couldn't leave. And that I had to come back, they were going to put her on comfort care. So when I tell you she had a blip in her heart, don't hear that she had heart failure, because all you know my mom. And she was a lot of things, but her heart never failed any of us. And I don't think her heart failed her either. She just needed a little time. I haven't really shared this with anybody. I had a conversation with her earlier in the day. And I went in her room, she was sleeping, and I held her hand for a minute, and just held, and she woke up, and she says, "Oh, I've been talking to you for about an hour." And I wanted to tell her, "Mom, I just got here," but, you can't tell your mother stuff, right? So she says, "I've been talking to you about an hour." And she had the nicest smile on her face. And she says, "And I've been talking to Jesus." Important to her. Important to her. And she was talking to Jesus, and it was okay. I'm okay. And she had the beautiful, just a smile like I've never seen like. It was like really something. And then she went back to sleep, and I went to her house and came back. Later that night, there was friends and family were in the room with her. They brought her dog. The dog was there. They brought her blanket was there. And we were all with her. And all of a sudden, she sort of woke up and looked around and said, "I want no more pills, no more pills. I don't want no more pills." And I said, "Okay." And I went back, and a little while later, she's taking the oxygen out of her nose. And Sherry was there, and Sherry got a little napkin and a little tissue and was wiping my mother's nose, thinking it was itching her or something. And she put it back in her nose, and my mom looked us right in the eye and took it out and says, "No, I want to go on my own. I don't want this. I want to go on my own." And as far as I know, that's the last coherent thing that she said. And she went peaceable that night. 11:32. She was pronounced. I probably will never forget that number, 11:32. But, so she went peaceful. It was good. So, I want to jump on something Pastor Mark said, that she might be here with us. She's always with us. As long as we mention her name, she's going to be around. As soon as we forget calling her and talking to her, then she's gone. As long as we mention her name. I'm going to tell you a story that I wasn't going to tell you that many of you have heard. There's a little pond over here. At the bottom of that pond lives a bunch of grubs. A bunch of grubs running around the bottom of the pond. A lot of those grubs look a lot like you guys in here. A lot of those grubs running around talking. And they noticed that every once in a while, one of them left the pond and crawled up the lily pads and just left the pond. And they all got together and said, "Well, where are they going? Where are they going?" And they made an agreement that the next one that had to leave the pond would come back and tell them where they went. And sure enough, it wasn't that long. One of them had to leave the pond. And she crawled up on top of the lily pads and rested. And the good Lord made her into a very strong, beautiful dragonfly. Strong wings and multicolored. And she flew around and she flew back and forth over the pond, waving at her friends, telling, "Hey, it's okay, I'm all right. It's okay." And she flew back and forth. So if you didn't see her coming in, I want you to look when you leave here, and you'll see a beautiful dragonfly flying around here. Because Mom's speeding along. She's speeding along. And she's fine, and we're fine. Thank you.
More of you that said you wanted to come on up and sit in the front here. That'd be great. Go ahead.
I'm just trying to breathe. When my dad told me the other day, he said, "You can go up and say something about Grandma." I told him, "No, I can't. I don't want to do it." I couldn't think of anything to say, so last night I couldn't sleep, and I tried to write something down because I didn't want to miss this chance. I'm sorry, I can't. Sorry.
good, you got it.
Linda and I were in Paris when we found out about Grandma. And we got a text, and, you know, it was late or early or something, and, you know, I woke her up, and then I rolled back over, you know, and I laid there, and I was like, I was thinking, well, you know, she had, you know, she's 100 years old, you know, and she was suffering. They took her car away, and, you know, she got a big family, and she had this really great career, and, you know, she really had this, like, she really had a great life. So I thought, well, then it's okay. So I rolled over, I went back to sleep. I woke up in the morning, Linda and I decided we're gonna walk over to the Seine River in Paris, and we're gonna throw some flowers in the river. Got some flowers, walked over to the river. I was fine, you know. Went to throw the flower in, just tears. Linda's tears. I'm just crying. Flowers are floating down the river. And we're hugging, you know, on this bridge, and we're crying and everything. We, you know, we're in Paris, so we're walking around doing our thing. And all day, you know, I was thinking about it. I was like, you know, you seemed fine last night. I mean, what's going on, you know? And so, anyways, I was trying to make sense out of it. So this is what I came up with. When I was a kid, I had like the customary 2 sets of grandparents, right? I had Grandpa Don, we called him Papa. I had Grandma Julia, we called her Grandma. I had Grandpa Jim, we called him Grandpa. I had Grandma Helen, we called her Grandma Helen. I don't know why. And I was never close to any of my grandparents, you know. I felt like I had that like typical grandparent, grandkid, you know, relationship. You know, you see them half a dozen times a year or whatever. And so you know, 30 years ago that changed. So, you know, growing up for all those years, I never, like I said, you know, I really wasn't close to them. But, you know, 30-some years ago, I was sitting on the couch on a Sunday morning, and I heard this, like, tap on my door, you know, and I got up and I opened my door, and there's Grandma Helen on my porch. And I was like, where'd you come from, you know? And she's like, oh, you know, she, like, made up some story, you know, and she's like, I just wanted to come by and see how you guys were doing and this and that. And I was like, I'm doing great, Grandma. Why don't you come on in? No, I'm just going to be here for a minute. You know, I just wanted to come by and check on you. And I was like, well, aren't you going to say hi to Belinda, you know? So she came in, I went and got Belinda, you know, and I go, look what I found on the porch. And Belinda said the same thing I said. Look, where'd you come from, you know? And before I get too far, I know it was a Sunday because it was always a Sunday, no matter what. And so then we said, can we get you something, you know? Do you want to have something? And she goes, no, I don't want to be in any trouble. I just came by to see how you guys were doing. And I was like, well, you know, can I get you something to eat or something? She goes, how about a cup of coffee? So I go, let me put some on. She goes, oh, no, that's too much trouble, just forget it, you know what I mean? And I was like, it only takes a minute, right? We sat down at the table. She looked at me, she said, how you doing? That's what she said. How are you? How's work? How's this, you know? And then, you know, made some coffee. She said, I got her some coffee. I said, how do you take it, Grandma? She said, just simple, hon. Just have a cup of black coffee. That's all I want. Sat there, had some coffee for a little while. Got right up. She said, we're like, where are you going? She's like, yeah, I gotta get out of here. And she's like, boom, give you a hug, and she's gone, right? Well, that same scene played out 15 or 20 times a year for 30-something years. I did the math. I figured 500 Sundays, 500 cups of coffee, 500 half cups of coffee. And, you know, she would just tap on the door and we would let her in, you know, and she would say, I'm only going to be here for a minute. And she would sit at the table and say, how you doing, you know? And I realized that she didn't just want to have that same grandparent. She wanted to be like part of our life. My wife, my kids. And so she found a way to do it. But she found like a clever way, like a patient way, you know, to come in there and and like I said, you know, only for a minute. She never got in our business. She always just said, how you doing? How you doing, huh? You know, how's everything going? How's work? How's the kids? You know, like that. Hug, half a cup of coffee. There was like a running joke I always asked her. I always said, what do you take in your coffee, Grandma? And she always said, just simple, honey, half a cup of black coffee. So that day on that bridge, I started seeing them. I started seeing all the Sundays. I started remembering, and I was like, oh, shit, you know, shit. I'm sorry. And I was like, you know, and I realized it was over, you know, and I realized it was gone before I ever even realized what I had with her. And, you know, I knew I'd never hear them tapping on the door again, and, you know, but then I thought, she wouldn't really want it to end that way, you know. So I thought, maybe she was trying to tell me if there's someone that you haven't seen in a while, somebody that you want to make friends with, like she did with me, call them up, go tap on their door, invite them over for a cup of coffee. It's amazing what can happen over a cup of coffee. And if you think about it, pour half a cup for her too, would you? You know how she takes it.
Thank you, David. I'm Wayne alcoholic, and I say alcoholic because that's how I met Helen. And a couple of years ago, some close friends have started passing away, and I didn't get the opportunity to say goodbye or say anything at their service, and I felt really cheated, and I felt guilty in a sense too. So whenever I have an opportunity, I'm going to say she made an impact on my life. You know, I've probably known her about 32, 33 years, and you know, I've known David probably 40-something, and his dad a little less than that, but nonetheless, the sincere love that I got from your family. And the first time I was over Dave's house, I was irritable, restless. I was a jar of rattlesnakes, and somebody kicked the jar, and a lot of people would just never come near me. Love is not in my vocabulary when I got here, and I didn't like the 747s that want to hug you and stuff. And if I did get a hug, it was like, all right, get off. And I remember, having something with David. I'd only visit David when I'm busy with the roundup, doing whatever he wants me to do, or I got my tail on fire and I need some help now. And she was there this one particular time when I was new and meeting her. And I don't know if she interrupted me or us, and she grabbed me and gave me a hug. And I'm like, all right, we're done. And she's like, no. And I'm like, no, we're done. And she's like, no, we're not. I'm like, what the hell is, like she's a little lady. And I'm like, come on. And she would never let me go. And I'm like, so I had to surrender her. What am I going to do? Tell this little lady I don't want her to love me? And that's what I remember about Helen. Every time I see her, how you doing? What's going on? And she would remember things that I tell her, and I'm like, damn, what the hell? And she's not, ended. I'll see her. She's probably here right now, hugging me, going, yeah, how do you like me now? And now I hate it. David was my sponsor for a minute, and he was too loving. I couldn't handle it, and that's how much I had loved. And but now I'm a loving, Dougie, silly, crying dude now, and I can't stand it, some days. And but I thank you, and we're all blessed. If you know Helen, you're blessed. There's a lot of empty seats here. Those are the ones that she's known for the 97 years that are not here. She's going to go meet now and have a tea party and hug them. Love you.
Hi, my name is Susan, and I'm standing here on behalf of all of you with the honor that we got to know Grandma Helen. And I never had the luxury of having a grandma, and I love your story because it's awareness. And thank you, because by you sharing that stuff, that's going to help me to be more aware to hear that little tap, or to give that little tap. But I wanted to just say that man, she loved the Lord. That little tiny gal, she loved the Lord. And she did too. She remembered everything. I mean, every time I would see her, she would ask me, how you doing? And then, how's Jim? How's James? How's Jessica? And every time she wanted to know about others. And she never, ever forgot it. And when our daughter went to heaven, she was on target with days and everything. She would call me and she'd say, how you doing? I know it's hard, but she's with the Lord. She's with the Lord. On birthdays, on anniversaries, on holidays, she never ever forgets anybody. It's amazing. And I'm so tickled because she mailed me and delivered on my doorstep her old mail. Man, she was great with that. She would get all her old mail, and it was all from different churches or spiritual readings and whatever, and I would get this mail from Helen, and it was all her junk. It was her junk mail, and it was so wonderful because she knew that I loved the Lord too, but she found a way to carry the message. And in our program of Alcoholics Anonymous and the Roundup, we know about carrying the message. And Grandma did a great job at carrying the message of the Lord. And I'm going to miss those little envelopes of junk, the junk mail, And I remember too, she would, when she shouldn't be driving anymore, she'd come up to my house and the walkway was long, and there she'd be, her little old self, just coming right up to the door, hi, okay, bye-bye, oh, I gotta go. And it was like she was always on a go. She was always doing service work for the Lord. And, I just have to say that every time I saw her, I made sure I had time to pray with her. Every time. And I've got so many voice messages from her that I've saved of her little tiny squeaky voice, you know, and about 5-6 hours before she went to heaven, I said to her, put my ear right by your ear, my mouth by your ear, and I go, come on, Grandma, we're gonna sing. She said, okay. And we did. We went, Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible loves me so. Little ones to him belong. They are weak, but he is strong. And she would just sing that with the passion of her heart. And she always asked me as well, not about my family, but she knows that I have a close connection. And she made me promise, which was a loving promise that I got to do. But every time I would see her too, she would say, how's my Emily? And I'd say, Emily's fine, Grandma. How's my Sherry? I'd say, Sherry's fine, Grandma. And my Luther and James are brothers. And I said, he's fine too, Grandma. Watch over them. And I promised her year after year that I would love those children. So Grandma taught me about being a surrogate grandma. I have never had a grandma, so you three have a surrogate grandma in me. Thank you, Grandma Helen.
You know, I was in that room too on the last of her days. I'm pretty sure she said, give that dog a cookie. That's her last words. We can argue about that later. Grandma would be so happy to have so many family and friends in one place. I know that was the most important to her. Every time you think you have no tears left to cry, man, that was the most important to her. I didn't necessarily grow up with most of my family every day like they all did, but I knew them well through Grandma. I would love to say that our relationship was just, how are you, Grandma? I'm great, Em, most of the time, which was a daily relationship for years. It was, yes, Grandma, okay, what do you need? And it was just, I mean, like you would with a mom. And she was my mom in many respects. But I really just wanted to say that she talked about you all. I mean, all of you. Most of you that I didn't know and not necessarily cared about what I did because of her, because she cared so much. As you've heard from many of my family and friends so far, she was one of the rare people that really did care. And you could tell, you know. I lived with Grandma many years, on and off as a child, you know. And even then I had this weird anxiety. We'd sleep in these twin beds in her room together. And she was kicking. She was, at that point, drinking 3 pots of coffee a day. And she was a little motorboat as far as like where she was going with her car. She was the world's first Uber. She had kids in her trunk and she didn't even know it. But I'd worry back then if that was going to be the night. When and where she was going to go, if she was going to be alone. And when I think about it, it couldn't have been more beautiful that she was with family and she got to see various friends that day, although it happened fast. And I was questioning the whole time if this was really it. You know, she was 97 and a half years old, but sometimes a lifetime isn't enough. And she really was, if you got to encounter her, larger than life in many ways. In many, many ways. One of the most unique people I'll ever get to know. And for me personally, probably the only person that will ever love me like that. Overbearingly so, my God. It literally would go, Em, yes, Grandma, I love you. I love you too, Grandma. I love you. I love you too, Grandma. I love you. I love you too. And that was many, humorous now, but she had many idioms that we can't get out of our heads now. Things that would drive me insane at the time. Like good, 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 good. Good, 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 good. Good, 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 good. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Most of the time I would just, and I'll find myself doing that the rest of my freaking life now, you know? I'm so appreciative we got to have this here, as Grandma really valued her church and the Lord, as many people have said. I was so worried about what I was going to say today, but nothing that I say is going to encompass all that she was. Nothing any of us say is going to encompass all that that woman was. How lucky is it, though, that she got to have 90 years with her sister? They're both, as I called you, the hobbits, as they stand. 4'11", and there was nothing cuter than those two together, you know? Grandma put her family above everything, and I know that that's what she constantly thought about. I know all of my family members because whether I wanted to or not, it would be what David did today, or where Donald moved, or where Shwalana is, or where Denny is, what Bryn did, how many kids they have, where the grandkids are. I mean, it was constant, and she was definitely one for drama. In the best way, though, you know? I remember walking by her room once. I lived with her on and off. And she's talking to somebody, Lord knows who. She's going, she's not good. She's not good. She goes out dancing by herself every night and she has no friends. I found out later she was talking about me. None of that could have been farther than the truth, but like, that's how much Grandma just sat and worried, you know, about all of us. People that weren't her family, people that she had one-off encounters with. It was amazing, her memory, you know? All of my friends that she'd never even met, how they doing? How's their mom? You know? And she's unforgettable, and I haven't yet, I know it'll hit, but I haven't yet accepted I'm never going to see her again. And how many of you have gotten a happy birthday voicemail? Mm-hmm. I know you mentioned your singing, Susan, but most of the time it sounded like, happy birthday! Happy birthday! It was terrible, but I'm going to miss it so much. And I'm probably going to have to do that to many of you. So be prepared to get a really bad happy birthday, because that's what I look forward to every year. I want so desperately to believe that we won't see her again. So desperately. But thank you so much for coming and celebrating her life.
My name's Kim, and I just want to say really quick, because she was very dear to me and my daughter. She had an intuition. She always knew what my daughter was doing. She came up to us. We were deer in headlights when we came to the roundup one time. We didn't know anybody. And she just grabbed us, and she loved us from then till now, which was in 2004, I think. And she, every time I used to visit her, she would always know what my daughter was doing. I don't know how. She would just come up with it. And it was always right. And I would be like, how do you know that? She didn't know about me, but she always knew about my daughter. And she was just incredible. And like they said, she had a great memory. She remembered everything you said, and she would listen like, I wish I could listen like that. And hopefully, Grandma Helen will learn to do that in the future. But I just had to say that because Dave was dear to me and my daughter. And when my daughter lost her father, Dave was there. No one came, but he did. And I was so grateful. So I'm grateful to you and your family. I love you all very much. You know that. So that's what I wanted to say.
And then we'll have you.
Wasn't really planning on saying anything. But after I heard my brother speak, I realized something. She came to our house first and had waffles and pancakes. But she already had about half a cup. Usually my wife made her a latte, so. No, I just wanted to say that to me, my grandma was a reminder of love. And no matter what was happening in your life, she would come over every Sunday and boost you. And I remember a couple times when I first came back from London,
I didn't want to be here for whatever reason. Luckily, my wife came here. And she came a couple times, and I didn't answer the door. I hid behind the door because I didn't want to hear it. What I didn't want to hear was love. And that's what Grandma was. And after I heard everyone speak today, I just want to thank you, Grandma, I have full gratitude for reminding us of what we are and for reminding us to love. And that's what we have to carry on for her. She might not come every Sunday, but she's still there reminding us to love each other. And I'll never forget when I made some transitions in my life, Grandma would say to me, don't look back, look forward. And the gal that just spoke a minute ago talked about intuition. That's what it was. Grandma could see right through you. Sometimes she would come in and she'd look at you and say, how are you? And sometimes she would look at you and say, he's doing all right, so I don't have to say too much. She just wanted to remind you of the love of what we are. And I just wanted to thank Grandma, because for me, that keeps me going every day, and I'll remember that forever. So, thank you.
My name is Mike, and I am just overwhelmed by the space that Helen brought to us. I used to think Dave did the roundup for us, but I think he did it for his mother because she needed all this love to spread around. So I don't know how he became alcoholic with such a perfect mother. That's another story. And I'm still trying to figure out how she got all those people through that little body. That's another part too. Helen was always, people talk about grandparents. My grandmothers became dragonflies some time ago, and I miss them terribly. And there's nothing like the love of your grandparents. You got your parents, but there's always that edge. But the grandparents you can never do wrong with, Even when you do, it's over with within seconds, and, then you're sugared up and you're ready to go for the next thing. And, the great thing about being in the program of AA and stuff, and Al-Anon and all that is I had my resentment list and my fear list were always full of what I wasn't getting. Like I didn't get what I wanted, so I got angry at God. But if I just relax, it always comes to you. And I lost my grandparents like that at a young age, and then at one point, and loss is hard. As a human being, it's hard. And but what comes out for me is gratitude. And then you go to this little thing we think we're so smart at called the South Bay Roundup. We think it's something we're important at. And it's a joke that's played on us. It's a joke because what you get is you get friends, and you get to learn, and you get to grow, and then you have friends, and you learn how to love. And then if you're lucky, you can take that back to your family. They always said, put it all in AA, and when you do it there, then you get to take it back in your life. It'll just be, you'll become it. And Helen, she is one of those things, when you saw her, she popped. Oh, there he is. It'd be across the room, and you got to get over there, because, it's the moment's there. And that's what grandparents do. And my son, my son Max, he started out like, little, and then he grew. Well, she would see him, where's my boy? That was always her thing. Where's my boy? How's my boy doing? And Max got to be her height, which was really good. They were like twins together. And Max is now as big as me, and Helen just kept going down. I don't know maybe she's hugged all her body into him, and now he's grown. But I called him and told him, and he was really upset about that, because she's just one of those people, The joke's on me, I think I'm being something or being of service and doing something at the Roundup, and then I end up with, a Dave Barge as a mentor, and a lot of you guys have taught me, why is it happening? The question is not why is it happening, it's what can I get from this? What can I learn from this? And if I'm willing to be conscious and be with that, then I can see the dragonfly. I can see that life is going on. So I've changed to being here today. I'm glad I came. I've changed by knowing you people and Helen being here. She was the ultimate grandma for all of us. She loved it. And, so nothing's missing. I'm healed a little more because I know I've been loved by someone. And they did a study on people out of Harvard, and they said they went 80 years with people. They did 2 classes back in the 30s. And they wanted to see what is it people want out of their lives. And they did the study halfway through when they were in their 40s, and they found out that what people wanted most was love. They wanted to experience love. And then they went to 2015 where they ended the study, and what they found out is the 2 things people wanted was to have love and be loved. And, you know, here we are doing all our stuff, trying to recover and all this stuff, and here comes this normal person into our life. And she's just all that. She did it in everything she did. And Dave was telling us the other day on Thanksgiving Day how she outperformed everybody at her job. She was just it. She just was focused and committed. True leadership, just, you know, on purpose. And I love it when we're in a group of wild horses and you put this little mule in the middle and how it changes everybody. You know, and it's just an awesome thing. So I want to say one thing. Rashid taught me something. Some of you know Rashid is 92 now and 62 years sober. But he says, love and service is God's love being made visible. And that's what seems to come out of knowing Helen. I'm really grateful for that, and that we all have this experience and got to know someone like this who is so small but so big, a big heart with legs. So thank you.
You have something else that Keith, okay. We'll have one more, and then if there's something you want to share with the family, you can at the reception, okay? So.
I had not intended to speak today, but we used to have a deacon visitation program here, and Helen Barge, because her name started with a B, was the first one in my book. If I didn't get a call to Helen, she called me to find out if I was okay. That's all I have to say. She was a good lady.
All right, we'd like to show some memories now with the slideshow that we'll probably cry through, okay? That's okay. Marty, show the slides.
I missed you already. Bye-bye.
Incredible love she shared with everybody. This is where I'm supposed to have a message, but I'm going to tell you what. Here's the message. You want to be in the heaven that she represented, right? So my message to you is, if you haven't made a decision to receive Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, it's very simple. It says in Romans 10:9-10, if you confess with your mouth Jesus is Lord, believe in your heart God raised him from the dead, you can have a relationship with God. That's it. He comes into your life, and don't worry about anything you've ever done. He accepts everybody exactly where they are. And I'd like to have another song from Rana.
Don't stand by my grave and weep. I am not there, I do not sleep. I am a thousand winds that blow. I am the diamond glints on snow. Oh, I am the sunlight on the ripening grain. I am the gentle autumn's rain. I want you to know it's okay to cry, though I'm not there. I did not die. Don't stand by my grave and cry. I am not dead, I did not die. I'm awake in the early morning hush. I am the swift uplifting rush of the quiet birds in circling flight. I am the star's soft shining light. Don't stand by my grave and cry. I am not dead, I did not die. I am eternal. I am eternal.
like to pray, and we're going to have some food back here. I'll pray for the food, but if you would all stay seated and let the family take off and go back there first, that way you can greet them in the chapel in the back, okay? How's that sound? Let's pray. Father, say hi to Helen. Let her know how much she was loved, and give her a big hug for us. And God, I pray that each and every person that was loved by her would know your love also. And I pray, Father, that in this huge, huge hole that's going to be in everyone's life that was touched by Helen's, that, Father, people would step up, you would step up and fill that. And Lord, we just look forward to seeing you and seeing her again. Thank you for all that you did for us on the cross. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, the family would make their way back to the chapel, and then everybody else can follow suit.